With the jug again?
Always with the jug.
Alex, is Thursday.
Yes.
And I didn't have to remind you today, which is nice.
You did not have to remind me.
We still had to wait for you, but we did not have to remind you.
True that.
But it is...
It's only like 30 minutes after it, wasn't
17th? It is the 17th of April.
Guess what happens in 3 days?
Easter.
Easter 2025.
So, episode 19 today. Excited?
There's only been 19? There's no way. We've done way more than that.
We had like 20-minute discussion. That was episode 18 last week.
Well, let's do that again. Roll the tape.
No.
And how time is irrelevant and that whole bit. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I totally remember that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. I'm solid on what I'm talking
That was
about here.
literally
I know where
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
I know where I am now.
It is.
I'm mildly aware of my surroundings.
Anyway.
Can I do this thing?
You don't do a thing.
I want to start off. What was that? Start off this with a little brain teaser for you guys. I want you to think about this real quick. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's lessons learned from space.
Oh gosh, I don't want to hear any lessons from space.
Okay, just think about
Especially if it has to do with people that have like been on the spacecraft for less than 5 minutes.
No, we can talk about that later too, though. But there's what you need to think about. Today's coffee is also tomorrow's coffee.
It's because you didn't drink it all and you left some in the refrigerator.
100% wrong.
I don't. Are you asking a question or are you making a statement?
I'm not asking a question. I'm saying something and I want you to think about it. Because when they're in space, where are they getting water?
From a water bottle.
For a statement where today's coffee is also tomorrow's coffee.
Is it reprocessed urine? I went
Bingo.
there, folks.
100%. That's what I was talking about. So
yeah, it's sterile and I like the taste.
I don't think so.
Well, if you like the taste of that, that's all you, buddy.
That's what Patches O'Houlihan said.
But since Alex brought it up, there was a space exploration this week.
Yes.
Exploration.
I guess we could call it that.
Baby Earth.
And just that, a firework went up, boom, and then fizzled out to nothing.
Yeah. So,
Clearly a disaster on an epic proportion.
well, here's the other thing, though.
I'm going to cover this up just in case I get in trouble here. So
Okay.
I can...
So here's the other thing. So you have that whole thing where they're talking.
Nonsense, yeah. We
well,
heard all that.
They're trying to say that first woman mission in space and all this other nonsense.
Right. Trash.
And it's 100% wrong because, well, what is it, 2025? So that would be 62 years ago. Valentina Tereshkova, first woman to fly a solo mission in space by herself in June of 1963. So what they're doing really isn't that impressive.
Yes.
Because this woman orbited the Earth 48 times, not orbited cloud for 30 seconds. But
I need to momentarily skip out. I'm sorry.
why? What did you do? You have to make a boom boom.
No, not that. Not that. I got to take this call real quick. Sorry.
Hurry back. Anyway, so we'll go to our actual first topic now, I guess. Where did I put that?
That wasn't today's first topic.
Humanity is in dire need to stop playing God. Do you get the word pun there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get it?
Oh.
Exactly. So, since the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, humans have been on a quest to be as wise or be as God. Every time this happened, humanity only makes things worse for themselves. So I don't understand why we keep trying, but we some reason do. This is going to do this way. But so the current human experiment is creating wolf hybrids with dire wolf DNA crossed with a gray wolf. This worked out really well in other instances that gave us what are now known as killer bees.
Mm-hmm.
Another experiment where two species were crossbred to increase their usefulness to us, and it ended up with a larger, more aggressive bee that created a little more honey and escaped their habitat and got out into the wild. Also, we've got 7 Jurassic Park movies now that can tell you exactly what not to do, which is what they're doing. So
wait, I got a thing.
let's do the thing.
I got a thing. Hold on.
What's
Hold on.
Yes. Yep. You would think we would learn because humanity's not going to do well with this. But
we know we don't learn anything.
I just wish we would. I really do because
we don't do that.
We're creating new species. We didn't remake dire wolves. You took 2% of a dire wolf DNA and stuck it in a gray wolf. It's not a dire wolf.
Yeah.
It's now a mutated gray wolf.
And you take some of that mammoth DNA and start mixing them with elephants and see what we get.
Well, right now they're doing that with mice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. They're using mice, but that's what they're doing. What good's going to come from this?
I don't know. They're going to feel better about themselves. Trying to bring back things that were extinct, quote unquote.
So, if they're bringing back a larger wolf that was meant to take down larger prey that also don't exist, what are these larger wolves going to feed on when they bring them back?
Bears.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know.
Well, they're already all for population control, so
maybe that's. I hadn't thought about that part.
You roll up with a dire in the back seat of your, Toyota. You're going to clear out that parking lot.
Yeah. I got other ways to clear up parking lots, so I don't know. But
creativity.
I
don't know. I'm always under the impression that you got some philanthropist.
Philanthropist.
Thank you. My hillbilly was showing. I think there's just some really rich guy. Let me say it that way. Who just wants to eat exotic meats. He just wants a dire steak, a mammoth tongue, something. That's all he's doing. That's how they're funding these things through these think tanks. They're just this one guy in the background. He's like divvying out all the money and be like, all right, bring me the good food. I just want to eat everything.
Want to eat it all. I mean, we know we can. That's the thing. We know we can make these things, but we need to stop and think, should we?
Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah. No.
Because if it gets out there and it tries to, is it capable of reproducing on its own? And when it gets out there, is it going to create some other type of larger super wolf even after the fact when it gets start mixing back in with the gray wolves? Because, I don't know.
You ever seen Twilight?
Yep. Sadly.
You know how when they turn into werewolves?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. We're going to get big wolves that are like comically huge, and they're going to tear some guy's shirt off. And it's going to be like Taylor Lautner.
No. It'd be like Shrek. More like Shrek, not like Taylor Lautner. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Alex, come back. So I got another thought though. When we're talking about the God complex that there's people are having. So with this God you're not the only one struggling with words.
It's
with this God complex, not only can I not read words, I can't type them in the correct order either, apparently. So with this God complex, not only are they creating real physical life, they're creating artificial life and intelligence. So recently, AI has learned to lie, deceive, make up stories, and hide things from humans. And with AI going this way, with AI going the way that it is, could the Antichrist figure be an AI figure? I can see a world where it is aided. Sorry, I can see a world leader that's aided by AI. We already have to question everything we see, whether it's AI or not.
Yeah.
There are too many fake AI accounts online where people don't know whether they're talking to a human or a robot. And on the other side of the story, where they do not know whether they're talking to AI, where they do know they're talking to AI, and it convinces a kid to take his own life. I don't know if you guys saw that one here recently. 12-year-old kid created an AI girlfriend, and the AI girlfriend convinced him to kill himself.
Oh, man.
Sad.
And is that going to play a factor in the end with this complex where we are creating these machines with people, well, especially people who don't want humans on Earth, are creating these machines to run everything. I mean, what are they going to do? What will AI turn to in the end?
Yeah, it's really hard to say what way, because if it's learning these things, so it can decide at some point it's going to be able to make like those decisions on its own. And like right now they're saying it's learning, but at some point it's not going to be just learning.
Yeah.
It's going to be making decisions, and
they say there's kill switches on these things, but if it's learning, let's also not say it's not learning how to get around those.
Right.
You know, because which AI was it that tried to escape and got into a Roomba? Remember which one that was?
I didn't hear this story. What are we talking about?
That's been a while.
I missed this one.
The only connection that it was left to was to a Roomba, and somehow it put itself in that Roomba and was trying to go connect to other things.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it can basically, it has access, most of them have access to the full internet, so it could literally, anywhere it can store data, it could just recreate itself, and so.
Just like Ultron.
Yeah, exactly kind of the thing that I'm thinking. But it tried to jump into that Roomba and then take over and find a way back to the internet from the Roomba.
Not a Roomba.
Yeah. So for Alex, since he missed it, we are currently discussing the capabilities of AI in the end time, and could they be a part of, if not the whole portion of the Antichrist. We just discussed how AI, how a kid created an AI girlfriend, and that AI girlfriend convinced him to kill himself.
Oh yeah, I heard about that story. That's terrible.
Yeah. So if
Don't listen to your AI girlfriend, boys.
If AI is capable of that, what else are they capable of?
Yes. Yeah, so, well, this kind of tails into what we talked about last week, too, but Rob, Jimmy, and I were talking about, we had brought up whether a certain individual's capabilities would be used for evil, and I don't know if that person will be evil, but definitely what they've got going on would definitely be used for evil, no doubt. Yeah. So absolutely, I think that AI can be used for that. Anything that can and will be used for evil, the enemy is going to use it for evil. Plain and simple. Just like anytime Tyler gets the opportunity to talk about rain in Africa, he's going to do it. It's probably the most inappropriate times in the world.
Hey, you know what's going to happen this weekend?
Wedding,
it's supposed to rain this weekend.
During my wedding, using it during that portion, bad idea. I said, don't do this. What's he do? He brings it out.
Every time.
Yeah. All of us did.
That is true. You all betrayed
effort.
Me, including my Nazi brother. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
He's not Nazi. There's a whole story there, but yeah, one of his friends got him a write-up for putting that he was a Nazi on his write-up slip. Yeah, so he ended up getting it. There's a whole thing. Another time when we have more time.
Anyway, so what other
moving
thoughts
on?
About that? What other thoughts do you have about that, there, Alex? Because I know this is something that you were a little more keen on.
Yeah. So, well, I will say, I think it can definitely be used for good. I saw a video of a Christian individual basically bashing AI. And I think just like the internet, just like television, our movement has seen so many people argue about these different things, but this is a handheld TV. You can get anything that you can get on this, you can get any other platform. Your computers, your TVs, this has all that stuff and more. It doesn't have a picture of my wife and I like this does. Anyway, so beside the point. What I was trying to say is I think anything can be used for good and or bad. And just like You had the wooden gods created back in the olden days, or statues or stones. People were smoking, marijuana and doing hard drugs even way back then, and they heard these statues speaking to them and saying, "Give your children to me, sacrifice your children to me." And Molech has no voice. He's an owl statue that has no voice at all, yet people sacrifice their children to him. This is no different from an AI asking a young man to kill himself, because that's a form of sacrifice. The blood is the sacrifice. So, for anybody out there that might think, "Oh, I'm going to stop listening to any AI, I'm not going to use any AI," let's just pause for a moment and think. You can use that for evil and for good. Um, it's all about the intent of your heart. Where's your heart's intent? Cain's heart was intent on giving the wrong offering to God, and God told him, "You know you're doing wrong. Go get the right offering, and we can fix this." And Cain did not want to hear God. So when he slew his brother and hid him, and the blood cried out to God, there's the rhetorical question God asked Cain: "Where is your brother?" And then Cain says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Well, we know you're your brother's keeper. You should have known that from the very beginning. You were your brother's keeper. Um, so it's all about the intent. Cain intended on doing the wrong thing and trying to get the right result. And so we can definitely use any type of thing to make it work for us in a way of evil, and we can do that in a way of good. So that's my whole take on the AI situation. Do I particularly use AI? I do in some ways, and then in some ways, I think I would like to use AI for my job. I would really like to have a robot go out and find underground utilities, but then the company would say, bye bye to me and hello to the robot. So also, there's a lot of rough terrain, and the robots don't do good in hilly terrain, or a bunch of I don't know what that was. It sounds like
I don't either. Was it me?
Someone's guitar just fell down. Leo,
Nope.
it was Tyler. It was totally Tyler.
No.
His wife's throwing stuff around the house.
No. I updated my resume this week, and I had AI help me.
It can be used for a lot of good things.
But I had to go back over it, and I'm glad I went and looked back through it because it embellished a lot of things way more
Yeah, sure.
than I ever would have.
You might get a position of CEO.
It gave specific percentage numbers on how good I did at my job. I'm like, I did not even give you that information.
Wow.
Can you send that to our group chat so we can read it?
I don't have that on this computer, but I can do that Monday when I go back to work.
Okay, I need to see that because I'm going to use it for my performance review tomorrow.
I won't have that for you tomorrow.
No, I can time travel. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use it for that stuff. You can, I've used it to write scripts. I've used it to make my writing has gotten way better because I use AI to help me. And it's really, if you use it as a guide, I think that's the best way to use it. And you use it. I mean, I basically type out what I'm going to say, and then I have AI, reconfigure it and make it the grammar right, because I'm terrible. You can ask my wife. I'm terrible at grammar, and I'm not really good at wording things. And so, wording things the proper way and using the right grammar to send it all, that's the main thing. Troy, you just look like you got punched by a ghost.
I glitched a little there, didn't I?
You were like, wham! Hey, calm down, buddy.
The new camera setup, I think, is glitchy every now and then, but not completely that way. Okay. Well, with that, anybody else got anything to add?
Nope.
Alex is adding a little virus to it. So we have. I sent a couple different things to the group this week about the tariff issues, wars, if you want to call it, going on.
The tariffs.
The first one, I was watching Dave Ramsey on the Sean Ryan show. It was a little different interview. It's not the type of person either one of them really talk to when they do interviews, so it's kind of neat to see. But Dave made mention that the games Trump is playing with tariffs One, it's scaring the stock market. But with the stock market falling, you should see a drive up in the bond market,
You do?
which will help lower interest rates.
That
Lower
is.
interest.
Go ahead. That's not what I've been reading on bonds. Depending on, are you talking about U.S. Treasury bonds?
I don't
Or
know.
see, the big thing with that I've been reading is China has been selling a lot of the U.S. debt, which is making the bonds go up, which is going to increase the interest rates on your auto loans,
Oh,
home loans, and credit card.
I hadn't got into that part. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, we did this similar thing to the UK several years ago to help make the pound lose its value, to help the
Really?
U.S. Currency become stronger.
I think I remember this.
hmm Well,
I
it
do.
actually, the same architect behind that is a part of Trump's cabinet now. Trump has
Really?
him still. I think it's the treasurer of the U.S. Treasurer, Secretary of U.S. Treasurer. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
That one I'm a little vague on, but it's scary, absolutely scary. China owns a lot of our debt,
Yep.
a lot of our debt, and however, their currency is not the best,
No.
and so what's it's basically, I keep telling all my friends that freak out about this in my other group chats. I'm just saying it's a game of chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, one's going to blink and everyone's going to win. Everyone's going to win. And now I would, people who are interested in the stock market would probably be the best time to get involved because the market's lower.
Yep.
Things are cheaper to buy in.
Yep.
But that's my
we've
2
had
cents.
we've had conversation at work with several people who are freaking out because the stock market dropped a bunch real quick, and I pulled up the 5-year of the Nasdaq, and you can see where the presidency. I don't have to not use this camera anymore if it's going to be doing that, but you can see where you have the president takes over. There's a dip, and then it goes back up, and then a dip, and then it goes back up. Every time president's elected, you have that same cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And they're absolutely freaking out over the whole thing. And
You mean to tell me that no president has fixed the national debt at all? Is that what you're saying out loud in front of
I
live
am not,
television?
didn't say national debt. I'm saying stock market.
Stock market.
Okay, whatever, same concept.
So,
I just want to make sure that I hear that correctly.
yeah. So it's
So
it has done better under some presidents than others, but there's always a dip and a reset. So it happens every time. But part of what Trump's trying to do with the tariffs and other things is making us more energy independent. Energy is 1/7 of our nation's economy.
that's shocking.
So if we do what he says and drill baby drill and get energy going up, get our interest rates going down, and the market will have nowhere to go but up.
Yes.
So
Essentially.
I mean, but as Tyler alluded to a while ago, tariffs are kind of a 2-part thing, and they're not just for trying to raise revenue. They're also a scare tactic, trying to get people in line. And it's who's going to fall in line and who's going to not fall in line. It's
China
questions that we're going to have to ask. Because right now, China doesn't look like they're playing nice. Hat is on backwards, Alex. Hat is over the eyeballs, Alex. Get him.
What is this guy doing? He can't even put his hat on right.
That's funny.
No, he's not following any rules, by the way. He follows 0 rules. He's like the mafia.
Tyler or Trump?
Who's like
Pick your poison. No, I honestly, I have a lot of good hopes for the things that are going on tariff wise. I'm a little bit concerned when it comes to Canada and neighbors that really depend on us. I don't know that it needs to be that high, but I think there might be a reason I'm not knowledgeable about, which is very possible. Um, I do think the high tariff on China is a great thing because China has like a ton of money, and they own like I mean we've already said it. You guys said it earlier, but they own a ton of stuff.
Yep.
So the fact that we buy all kinds of stuff out of China definitely is going to help the economy go up for sure. Um, However, I don't want to put a bad wrench in the scheme of things because I do think that the next 4 years are going to be very prosperous. What was that?
That was the
Nothing.
demons escaping. That's what
Go
that
ahead.
was.
Go ahead.
So
Don't worry
I
about
think
it.
I think we'll have a very prosperous next 4 years, but
Mhm.
it's after that 4 year time that I don't know. Things might be a little bit better, but as far as the direction of the world is concerned, um, you might have some time of peace, but that's not the way the story ends. And so, buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because the aircraft is fixing to experience some high turbulence
Mhm.
after this 4 years is over.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to.
Especially if a temple is built. Just that.
I mean, it's hard to say though because everything that we're seeing as far as the end time stuff goes, the U.S. really isn't mentioned anymore.
That's very true. That's very true.
So when all that stuff starts to happen, it kind of just disappears. And I don't know if that's where we either get wiped out or we just isolate ourselves that much.
I think personally, I think it's going to be an isolation. Don't quote me on that because I don't know.
Oh,
But I do think it's going to be an isolation in my opinion. But I have my own reasoning for that. Now, I will say, I think the world is on the brink of World War III, and thanks
Yes.
to the Putin and Ukraine situation, which does have very deep ties into the Israeli issue as well. Not only that, Iran and Russia are tight, and Zelensky has a lot of pull with Israel. So you can see the mirror there. You can see that where it could go really bad, like really, really quickly. However,
Yeah.
um, I think that Trump being in office has a huge part in that. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of prophetic stuff right now. I don't know 100% if he's a prophecy like being foretold because some people are even saying like, "Whoa, the last Trump sounds." I don't think that might be going a little too far, but I will say that there probably has to be a King Cyrus, so to speak, that kind of is for Israel that allows Israel to do what they need to do. And then, so I think during this particular time of the next 4 years is pivotal because if we are right at the edge of this thing, which by the way, it could be 50 years from now or it could be like tomorrow. We don't
Yeah.
really actually know. However, what we do know is that if it is this 4 years, then you will see the temple built. You will end up seeing. I personally think they probably already burned the red heifers. That's just my opinion because there's three of them we don't even know where they're at, and they're not going to take the chance on losing that. And so that's one thing that Rabbi and I were talking about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Um, he said he kind of alluded to that. He was saying if they haven't already burned them, they probably didn't take the chance and they're probably gone. But that's why they're in hiding. However, they're not letting that information out because Hamas and the Arab state would be furious because that's an act of war against them because that means that you're allowing your Jewish God to come back and harm us, and we can't have that. Our ancestors tell us stories about the Jewish God coming, and you had the parting of the Red Sea, and there's so many different things that happened. We don't want him to come back, so we have to keep him out. That's why the tombs are on the east side. That's why the east side of the Temple Mount. That's why the Eastern Gate is shut down. And there's a lot of Eastern Gate stuff coming out now too. A lot of talks of how it's going to get open. where the temple actually sits. So there's a whole bunch of that going on as we speak. A lot of people looking into that. Um, my estimation is the next 4 years, if we're there, you're going to see a lot of different things happen in Israel. You got to keep your eye on that stuff and then focus your mind on, am I right with God? That's the major question, because that's the only way that you're going to get into heaven. You have to be right with the Father.
Yep.
And so, how do we do that? Love people and serve God. That's how we do that.
Yeah, Alex, love me.
You're a lizard person. You're a different. I'm going to keep making up things that I think he is. Last week, he was an alien that stole human skin and put it on, like the Men in Black movie, Edgar. That's him.
Yeah.
On my screen, he's over here.
Yeah, you're pointing in a completely wrong direction
Or
on
he
my
might be
screen.
down that way, or he could be that way. Anyway, on my screen, he's over here. So this guy on my screen over here could possibly be an alien parading as a human being. Although I've had that same connotation, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about him. Beside the point. So yeah, I think the tariffs have a huge thing to play in that. I think, um, the world currency has to. There's at some point it's going to crash. We know that, and at some point you're going to have the mark start. That
Right.
mark is, I mean, it's already being produced now. There's chips. There's all kinds of things that people are trying to do. And we talked about chips last week that go in your brain. We don't. I don't think we know for sure what the mark of the beast is. Some people said it was COVID. Some people said it's the chip. Other people said it's just a number. I don't know. Some people even say it's your phone. I don't really know what it is. I don't think that we know what it is just yet. However, I think that, hey, there's a cameo. I think that we are going to see some major changes in the next 4 years of this administration. And if we don't, thank God, because
Yeah.
it means you have time to repent and get your heart right, Tyler. But if we do see it in the next 4 years, we know that Tyler's people are coming from the sky to eat the human flesh of the people and to burn our villages.
Just you.
Buy all the bread, toilet paper, and water jugs that you can.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Anyway, but you are going to see something incredible happen in the next 4 years in Israel, which
Yes.
is paramount. We've never had a time in the last 2,000 years of history. So this is how we know where we're at. We've never had a time where there was 5 red heifers that were spotless. We've never had a time where there was an active U.S. president. Let's just be honest. The U.S. has a bunch of interest in the entire global economy, the global scene. It's still a superpower at the moment. Um, I think that you have an active president in the White House that is very pro-Israeli. You're Israel. They're like at the precipice right now. This is the closest we've ever been to being able to rebuild the third temple. They really are not going to try to let this down. And Netanyahu has a prophecy that he was given by somebody. I think he was actually here in the U.S. I think it might have been in Texas. And somebody prophesied to him and said, "You will be the prime minister when the third temple is rebuilt." I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't even know how he's still prime minister with some of the things going on right now.
Yeah.
It's incredible how he's still prime minister, and yet here we are. So I think there's a lot of random variables that you could say, oh, it's just happenstance. But then I also think it's probably not, and we're probably right there, which means I really need to work on my chicken diet because I love fried chicken, and I have a major issue.
That
Yes.
was ended up in a strange place, sir.
Well, it's never going to end up in the right place. So
He wants it
talking
to end
about
up
me.
in a bucket of chicken. That's what he's wanting
Yes.
it to end up.
I would love to dive
KFC.
into the bucket of chicken,
Would be nice, yes.
take a swim down in it.
All right. Leo.
I like original, not crispy.
You're wrong. But Leo,
Leo.
I'm not wrong.
Any input on this?
So I was looking. The S&P 500 has fallen about 15% this year
Yep.
so far. So in 2022, it actually fell 20% at one point.
ayo.
And then the biggest fall we had was 2009 when it fell 36%.
Obama.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're not even we haven't even hit down to where it was 2 years ago.
Some would
No.
say we haven't hit rock bottom. Call the rock.
So you can't really say it. The stock market's bottoming out. We haven't even got close to that yet.
No. Not even
Leo
close.
laying the truth out flat.
Yeah.
And then, what was he talking about? Trump was talking about tariffs the other day, and he was talking about making a deal with China and stuff. He's like, I said, we'll just keep raising tariffs. He said, because he said, we're the ones holding the cards. He goes, how many products in America say made in China? And then how many products in China say made in America?
Right.
He said, we're the one buying all this stuff. They're not buying anything, so we crank them up and keep cranking up their tariffs. Like, what's it matter if they raise ours? Like, we don't ship them anything.
Tyler, fix your hat. What is happening here?
We don't even sell them anything hardly, so like they can raise tariffs all they want because it's not going to hardly affect us at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that China's got on us is the ability, like the technology department, all like the fabrication, the raw materials, and the rare earths is a big one. Like that's the one thing that really kind of bites a little bit more so than anything else.
But
The
that's
one
part
thing
of
that
the deal
bites is the way that hat is facing right
That's
now.
part of the deal that Trump just struck with Putin, though. That Putin, and Zelensky made a deal, and they're going to negotiate this peace, like ceasefire deal and stuff. And out of the deal, he worked into that we were getting something like $15 billion worth of rare earth minerals and stuff out of Ukraine. And we worked into us getting a bunch of stuff out of this deal, but
That is the American way right there.
yeah.
Booyah.
Yeah. You're like, we'll go in and help you negotiate, but we're going to get this.
Yeah. That's
And it's like, literally, that's what he told him. He's like, we're going to take this, but then we're going to help you in the process.
That's a little hanky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was part of and I guess that's a lot of the reason why Russia was invading that area is because they wanted all those rare earth minerals that are there.
No, it was anti-Semitism. That's why they're going in there.
No, that's not true.
That's what they said.
It's the rare earth minerals that they're trying to invade the area that Trump said will help them secure, but we get some of the minerals.
They wanted the wheat. That's what it was. They wanted the wheat.
The wheat to make my bread.
Stop it. Get some help.
Anyway, I'm starting to agree with Alex, though. You need to fix the hat.
Bingo.
It's starting to hurt my head.
Yahtzee.
Okay. Now, did anybody else see the comment the other day that they're trying to get our money back on the gold standard?
I did not see that. That's good. That's good news.
I did
We
see
need
that.
to.
Well, here's the other thing. Also, that same day, I seen a story pop up that 400 tons of gold are missing from Fort Knox.
Oh, we talked about this. We had
The
this
Ark of the Covenant
on our bingo
took it.
cards where Fort Knox was going to be empty.
400 tons of gold
You guys made bingo cards?
missing. We
Yeah.
verbally
I'm still waiting on
did
this.
not. Right.
Still waiting
You're
on
our
this
free
live
space.
stream.
What live
Your
stream?
face is like right there in the middle. We just
Elon Musk wanted to live stream the whole like walkthrough of Fort Knox.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that didn't
Ever.
Tyler with the jug.
But yeah. 400 tons of gold missing, allegedly.
Inappropriate.
Where did it go?
in somebody's pocket.
And Tyler's milk jug.
Has some rich chocolate.
Yeah.
We probably gave it to China so we could borrow it.
Ooh, that's probably what happened. Honestly, I feel like the last 4 years.
That's what happens. So
I feel like the last 4 years of history, there was an old guy wandering around the White House, tumbling over stuff, mumbling, like accidentally pooping his pants. Maybe he lost the gold. I don't know. But
Talking
there's
about
a
the Monopoly
strong
guy?
possibility. No, I'm not talking about the Monopoly.
pretty
guy.
sure it was gone long before then. But
Well, it's very possible. But that one dude that was stumbling around the White House, who like forgot his pants at times and then wandered into the Oval Office, and there was this other person who made very incoherent topics on live television a lot. Not topics, conversation. Yeah. Nobody knew what she was saying. and like she was making all these deals.
It wasn't a lot because she doesn't do a whole lot of talking.
Well, that's true.
Like live,
she did on the My Daddy's Hot podcast or whatever that's called. Not My Daddy's Hot, but Spank My Daddy or something.
All right, marking that. Mark it.
I can't remember. I don't remember what it was called.
Just that. We just need that clip. Spank me daddy.
I honestly don't. I mean, I don't remember.
And I need Elizabeth to see and hear that one
Elizabeth
clip.
Doesn't even watch the podcast.
I know. That's the one thing she needs to hear.
We have access to send these things to her, though, Alex, if we ever so wish to. You need to remember that. Can send them to her directly.
Praise God. I'm secure
in song
in my
format.
boys.
Speaking of AI, we can make a song with that.
You could make a song with that. You could schmo yoho us.
Yep.
I miss their videos, by the way. They need to make more. But maybe I don't know if they have. I honestly haven't seen any of them.
We need more viral moments, Alex. We need more viral moments.
Well, the Hot Daddy podcast or the Spank My Daddy podcast, whatever she was on. That's a viral moment.
I don't want to have to look this up. Now you're going to make it.
Don't Google it.
It.
Don't Google that. Do not Google. But it was like something like that. And like, so there was that one. And then the Howard Stern podcast. Like, everybody knows Howard Stern has one topic, and that's body parts. And sexual body parts at that. No other body parts. He doesn't talk about like the elbows or the nose or the ears. Like, he just, it's
all
sex.
the sexual parts.
If an elbow is a sexual part, I am confused. And we need to
in the right hands. In the right hands.
Well, that's
hey, you're blowing that dude out. Calm down. And call her daddy.
Call her daddy. There you go. Call her daddy. Whatever. I had the daddy part right. I had the daddy part right.
And that's what worries me.
There probably is a podcast out there called Spank My Daddy.
Well, let's not find out, Alex. Let's not find out.
It's on one of those special websites.
I'm not looking that one up.
She probably did one on that too, though.
That's on OnlyFins.
OnlyFins, yeah.
OnlyFins.
We need to make an OnlyFins account.
OnlyFins. Just fish all the time.
Just fish swimming.
A gigantic aquarium.
Christian version of. Actually, did you know that they have a Christian version of, what is it called, Tyler? You know.
How would I know?
It's like Holy Fans or something like that. I'm like, what? I don't remember what the heck it's called. Anyway,
I used
it's weird.
sites back in the day, but they were not anything like that.
No. I mean, like it's the Christian version of OnlyFans. Like this is an actual thing. This is a real thing. There's a Christian version of OnlyFans out there. I can't remember what it's called though. I think it's called Holy something. It's like Holy Fans, something fans.
I'm not taking time to look it up. I don't know.
But you'll look up the Spank My Daddy podcast.
No.
How many times can we say Spank My Daddy during this podcast?
Hopefully that was the last time.
Too many already. So
my dad would be ashamed.
We could send this.
He would laugh. Too. He would definitely laugh though.
All right. Well, anything else? Trade, tariffs, gold missing. Anybody else want anything on that topic?
Old men wandering the White House.
So, here's the thought coming back. So, just remember, he was wandering the White House long before he was ever president.
I forgot. There was another 8 years that he wandered with his underpants off.
Yes. So,
could you imagine just sitting in the Oval Office and here comes old man Jenkins like, "Hey, Obama, have you seen my pants?" and then Obama's like, "Joe, get out of here."
Yeah.
Like, that's a skit I need to see. That's a Key and Peele skit that we need to see.
No, I'm good.
Yes.
So, Alex.
Yep.
If we're ready to move on.
I'm always ready. I'm always steady and I'm always ready. Okay,
what is this
I may
week?
not be always steady.
What is this week?
This week, last Saturday started the Feast of Pesach, is how you say it in Hebrew, but we would call it the Feast of Passover. And it goes from last Saturday all the way till this Sunday. A lot of us call that Easter Sunday, as Tyler so heavily pointed out. He is excited to go look for eggs in church
Yep.
parking lot
No, at your
Saturday.
house.
My house will no have eggs.
No have eggs, huh?
We
And also
don't. We
no
can't
have
afford.
English.
Yeah.
No egg
We
egg.
listen. We can't afford eggs at my house, so we don't. We just don't do it. I literally asked Elizabeth to buy eggs last week, and she looked at the price and she goes, "That's not going to happen." And I was like, "Why?" And she goes, "They're $12." And I was like, "Oh, for one egg?"
Why
I
are
don't.
you buying it at $12?
I do not know. I don't honestly. I don't buy groceries. I just hope to God she picks the right ones, and then sometimes it's a variety. I have no idea how much groceries are, to be honest with you, and I'm not lying about that. I couldn't tell you how much anything is at the grocery store because I avoid the store like the plague. If I don't have to go in, I don't go in, and if I do go in, I'm getting uno itemo, and then I'm out.
All right. Speaking of plagues, back to the story.
Yes. So this week is the Feast of Pesach, and like I said, it starts last Saturday, goes all the way through this Sunday, and it is the story of Israel's redemption from the land of Egypt. That's what this week is. I'm sorry if you can hear my son going lunatic upstairs.
Oh, that's okay because Leo's was doing it a while ago. So, well, with that though,
Elizabeth wants him to do a cameo. I said Elizabeth wants Apollo to do a cameo. That's why
I
he's
see.
singing upstairs.
Well, you got anything else special you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to explain kind of what I'm trying to text my wife right now. Um, wow. um, I was going to kind of go through what happened to the Seder and just talk a little bit about it, but not go into a whole lot of detail. Um, so you have matzah, which is I actually don't have matzah with me today. It's upstairs. But you have matzah, which is like a saltless cracker. They're like large saltless crackers, probably like that big. They're huge.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what you eat during a Seder, and you typically eat that all week long because you don't do any leavened bread. Leaven is represented. Leaven is a representation of sin in the home, and so it's tradition for Israel to go through their house. They actually do this. The parents will leave little crumbs on like the table and like in a cabinet, and their kids will take a leaf and they'll scrape it out, and they're looking for. They call it chamutz or chamutz, however you say that. But it's the leaven, and they're looking, and that leaven represents sin. So you're intently looking inside of you for the sin that you need to release to God to get away from you to allow Him to cleanse you of. So all week long, you're praying, you're asking God, okay, Lord, what is going on inside of me? What are things that I can work on? But also, you're taking out all the leaven in the home. So any bread that has risen, you're taking that out of your house. You're throwing it away. You're burning it. Some people burn their leaven, or you just take the little bit of bread you can take, and you just set that on fire, and then throughout the whole week you have no leaven in the house. You don't eat any leaven, and then one day in that week there's typically a big seder that people do with their families, but it can be celebrated every single day, and so typically a seder is like forever long, and there's a whole lot of information, but obviously in the world we live in, we have figured out how to make things a lot quicker. And so your typical Seder will probably only be like an hour, maybe 2 hours, depends on where you go and who is actually performing the Seder. So anyway, you typically use a book called a Haggadah. That's how you say it in Hebrew, Haggadah. It basically means the retelling of the Exodus in layman's terms. So then you have candle lightings. You have the Kadesh, which is the first cup, which is a sanctified cup. And so there's actually 4 cups to the Passover Seder. You have the first cup of sanctification, then you wash your hands, then you'll do some parsley dipping, you'll break the matzah, possibly even hear a shofar blast. You typically eat sometime in the middle of that Passover Seder. Then you'll have the Magid, which is the long part, which is like the retelling. You basically start from the beginning of Exodus and work your way through. And usually the rabbi gets like super, super deep in all of the technicalities of the story of Exodus. And by this time, everybody is either half asleep or so drunk they don't even remember what's going on. And then you have the second cup, which is the deliverance. So you drink another cup, and like I said, most people are probably drunk at this point. Um, so they're laughing and making fun of the rabbi at this point. Then you have the middle piece of bread is found. You'll have another cup, which is the cup of redemption, which is actually the cup that the church, the Western church, that's the one that we will typically drink. We take it, we drink it, and then we take the bread and we eat that little piece of afikomen bread, which represents Christ's body. Um, that's the third cup. And then you'll have some singing, which is really when all the drunk people and sleepy people wake back up and they sing a whole bunch of songs. And then you have your fourth cup, which is the cup of praise or future restoration for Israel. And then there's some more singing going on. And then probably another word of prayer. And again, probably more singing and a lot more wine. By the end of the Seder, you're probably going to be half drunk, if not totally roasted, which is a good thing. That means you had a good Seder. So, obviously, in the church world, when you do a Seder, you don't actually do wine.
Yeah.
Usually it's a lot of grape juice. And I really, the argument that Israel did drink wine or didn't drink wine, I think it again is going to depend on your teacher and historian and the way that they see things. However, I believe that the wine wasn't as fermented as it is now. We have a lot more stronger fermentation processes for wine, and but they did drink an entire cup. So you take your whole cup and you guzzle that whole cup down for at least the four. But then you're continuously drinking wine with your meal throughout the entire Pesach Seder, and and then by the end of it, like I said, you're pretty much every Jewish holiday you're going to feel really good about yourself at the end of the holiday because you're buzzed and you're feeling great. So that's typically a actual Jewish Seder. You go to a Messianic Christian Seder, there's not as much wine, but there is quite a bit of grape juice. And again, most of the kids are passed out because they drink 900 cups of grape juice, so they're half dead on the floor with grape juice flowing out of their nose. And then the parents are like,
modern grape juice probably isn't all grape juice, so it's a lot of red dye 40.
yes, yeah. You got to watch out for that red dye 40. It's the real enemy in the streets today. It's not the gangs of New York. Anyway, so you get all that, and you have your snot nosed brat is laying on the ground, passed out with grape juice all over his face. The parents are thoroughly confused at the part of the Seder that they're in, and then everybody's really ready to go home by the time this rabbi gets to wrapping up, and only the people that really understand the Seder are like, "Man, this was great." And then everybody else kind of goes home and hopes to God that like they can forget that they were even a part of that. Unless you have a really good rabbi, and then I overly exaggerated that quite a bit. So
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, because I want you to go to a Passover Seder and see what it's like.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of fun. You learn a whole lot about Jesus. You learn a lot about who he is, why he did what he did. And yes, the Passover Seder is considered the Lord's Supper, that last meal he had with his disciples. Immediately after the meal, they actually leave the upper room. They go to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he begins to pray until he has great drops of blood, and then he is arrested. Judas comes and gets him, kisses him, arrests him, and then Judas goes to his final resting place, which is actually south of the Temple Mount, in a small little section that still is deserted to this day. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but Akidama, that's what it's called, Akidama. And it's just a bunch of random tombs. It's in between an Israeli area and a Palestinian area, so there's a lot of tension. If you go to Akidama, you can actually be you run into Palestinians and they will attack you. So not a lot of people go to Akidama. Anyway, but that's a part in the city just south of the Temple Mount area um, that you would actually see where Judas kind of hung himself, and it's that potter's field that the Bible actually talks about. Still, nobody's built there, nobody's living there. Um, but anyway, right after the Seder, that's where they go, and then Jesus is taken before Pilate, and then Herod, and then Pilate again, and then he's crucified right after. So, but there is typically a lot of drinking. Um, and I would argue again. It depends on your rabbi. It depends on your upbringing. Every Passover Seder is going to be different. Every Messianic Passover Seder is different. So you might go to one and witness a whole lot of things, and then you might go to another and not witness nearly as much things, or it might be a little bit more theological depth, and then there might be some where it's more fun. There might be some where it's actually kind of boring. So it depends on which one you go to and who's leading it. If Tyler led one, we'd all probably be sleeping. So, no, I'm kidding. Tyler would be the one to have like music bumping the whole time. People's shirts would be off. They'd be swinging their shirts around. It would be like a college party. Really, it would get out of hand. You would have to probably call the cops. He started dancing.
I'm getting ready to call the police anyway.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jesus, for that moment.
I'd have to look up Tyler's address, but they would be there.
This is such a great time.
This guy is doing inappropriate things on a camera.
Oh, my gosh. Let's see that in replay mode. Please. Anyway, yeah. I think it's a lot of fun. Again, it really depends on where you go. But Passover is a great time. It's a good time to repent. It's a great time to... somebody asked me this week if I was fasting. I said, no, Passover is not a time to fast. Passover is actually a time to party because it's the pulling out of sin. It's the coming out of the world. So it has a lot of deep meaning in not only the redemption process of the cross, but there's also a whole lot of really cool stuff when it comes to the baptism in the Spirit, the baptism in the water, and then what Jesus did that week. That week, actually, also, I believe, is when Jesus went into the temple and was whipping folks. So he took his whipping switch in there and started whipping. So the whole story behind that, I'll make this quick, sorry. The whole story behind that is, if you haven't seen The Chosen, probably go watch that. They'll do a great job of explaining. They always do. I haven't actually seen it yet. But so Jesus goes to the temple. What was going on was you're supposed to have a Passover lamb that means something to you. It's value, right? And your sacrifice should always be something that hurts you. David is offered the Aruna's threshing floor, which is where the Temple Mount is today. Aruna said, no, David, I'll give it to you. You got to go find this in the Bible. It's an amazing story. But David says, I'm not paying for something that doesn't cost me anything. I will not sacrifice where something doesn't cost me. And so he buys the threshing floor from Aruna, and then he makes a sacrifice, and the angel of the Lord chooses not to destroy Jerusalem. But anyway, moving forward to when Jesus is flipping tables and whipping people, what they were doing is they had lambs, rams, goats, all that stuff that you could buy at the Temple Mount. And then you could buy that for money, and you go into the temple and you could sacrifice, and it was supposed to atone for the sin. Jesus was not happy about this. He did not want people to go to the temple to buy. What he wanted you to do was to make it a personal sacrifice. It had to hurt you. And so today, if we're making sacrifice that doesn't hurt us, it's a problem, because sacrifice should penetrate our hearts. That's the point of killing the flesh, is the sacrifice is supposed to hurt me and you. And so what you did was you raised the lamb from a ewe lamb all the way up to about the age of 3. You got really attached to this lamb, and then the father, along with his wife and children, would go up to the altar, and they would watch him kill this lamb and put it on the altar. And then the priest would do the priestly stuff. So with that being said, not just that animal, there's other animals as well, but the point is that this is something that's affecting the entire household. It's not just affecting the one or the children, it's affecting everybody as a whole. And so those are the reasons why Jesus would have been upset about that, because he said, "You have made my house a den of thieves. It is a house of prayer." And he was very upset. So obviously he had some righteous anger. A lot of people question, why was he able to do that. I would not recommend going to whip people at the church because they're doing things that you're not happy about. However, he also had righteous anger, and he did not allow that to make him sin. He did not go whipping people and bashing them over the head with chairs and DDTing them into the carpet. He was simply making a statement known that, hey, my house is not going to be like this. It's going to be a house of prayer. So that happens during the week of Pesach. And then, of course, the betrayal happens and the crucifixion happens on the day of preparation, which is the day before Shabbat. And then he is in the tomb during Shabbat. And then the tradition is that on the third day, meaning Sunday, or the first day of the week, he actually gets up out of the grave, but we're not sure when the time is. Some people will argue it was still during Shabbat at night. Some people will argue, so Israel's days goes from the evening of the day before all the way to the morning of the next day. So it goes evening before the entire day, and then right before the sun comes up on that next day, that's an entire day, right? So from evening until morning, that was a day.
Yeah.
So he's in the tomb, goes in the tomb Friday night or Friday afternoon, and then Saturday in the tomb the whole day. Saturday, Sunday morning, the women are going to actually wash him, prepare him for burial, prepare his body. As they're going, they see the tomb is open, and then there's an angel sitting there, and Mary asks the angel, like, "Yo, where the heck is the guy at?" And the angel goes, "I don't know, he's gone." And so, that's the Alex Todd Hood version. But anyway, he gone, and so then he appears. They think he's a gardener, and they're asking the gardener, like, "Hey, did you see some cat walk out of here?" And the gardener's like, "No, I didn't see no cat, but I am his." And so, and then he kind of disappears, and then there's some walking through walls that happens, which is pretty interesting. And then there's some Thomas putting his hand through Jesus' side. I'm not a fan of. I would be very thoroughly freaked out if I were Thomas that stuck his hand right up into his side and feels his guts and junk. Yeah, it's just me. But he's in a glorified body at that point, so I guess it's cool. If Jesus asked me to stick my hand up in his side, I'd be like, "Yo, I'm cool. I believe. I don't need to even, Tyler might like it, but I'm not into that kind of thing. And then what if your hand gets caught on a bone? Anyway, that's beside the point.
It is. So,
any questions about Pesach?
Pesach, no. But I was listening to
Tyler,
that
what
Raymond.
has happened?
He's in his old man rocking chair. Leave him alone.
Oh, God.
I was listening to that Raymond Woodward, the last word this week.
Yeah.
And in that, he made mention the first three Gospels have a different account of Jesus going into the temple and flipping tables than what John does. And he pointed out that he could have potentially done that twice.
Very well possible.
Once at the beginning of his ministry and then once there at the end.
Yeah, sure.
So opening, I think the wording is slightly different on what he said when he was in there based on the two different Gospels or on the different Gospels. I mean, it's just something you don't see that much from him, but I think other cultures point out more of those facts than what we're getting.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, like, people are obviously trying to make Jesus or Yeshua out to be some demigod or second God or something else, and he's none of those things. He is God in the flesh.
Yeah.
So we know that. But personally, I like Party Jesus. Party Jesus is my favorite. The reason is because that's pretty much what he was. Like, he partied a lot. And he had a great time. He hung out with people that were normal people that had problems. He solved problems. He healed people. He loved people. He served people. That's what he came to do. And he wasn't as stoic as some people might want him to be. They want him to be stoic. He never laughs. He's always monotone and perfect in every way and floats 3 inches above the ground. And he didn't do any of that stuff. He was a man. He was just like me and you. In fact, some people, he was such a man that some people really struggled to believe that he was God in the flesh. Like, if I came to you and said, "Hey, man, I'm God in the flesh," you'd be like, "Man, come, I know, like, there's obviously some issue here. Look at you." Anyway, but when they met Christ, some of them really struggled in their mind, thinking this guy is an actual man. God is not a man that he should lie, and that's what the prophets say. But then the fact that he put himself in the man's body was such a weird concept for everybody to understand. The apostles saw it though because he revealed it to the apostles. The Bible actually said he opened their understanding, which is an incredible thing. I still don't really know what that means, but they're sitting with this man, and all of a sudden now I fully understanding and its completeness. They actually said, by many infallible proofs, we knew he was God. We had no doubt he was God. And but as you know, there are times where he conceals himself, and he might be standing right in front of you, and you didn't even recognize this dude. Literally, the road to Emmaus. They're walking down the road, and here's old boy kicking it with us down the road, and all of a sudden we're sitting down eating bread with him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I am Christ." And then boom, they give him some bread to eat, and he vanishes, and they're like, did I just witness a ghost up in here? Like, what's happening? So, there's a whole thing there. He's God and man at the same time, which is, if you want a deeper understanding of that, Jesus is. There's a book called "Is Jesus in the Godhead, or Is the Godhead in Jesus?" That's an incredible book to go read. Also, David Bernard has a great commentary on the oneness of God. Two very good theological books to read. The shorter one is Jesus in the Godhead, or Is the Godhead in Jesus? That one is an incredible book. I actually just read it last week. Only took me like 2 days to get through it, but anyway. So that book basically explains how he was God and man at the same time, and it really goes into the separation of divinity and humanity. But again, he was fully human, so it was really difficult for us to see that. But I will say, when it comes to the Gospels, John is the deepest of the four, and he's the most spiritualized of the four. The other three are more synoptic Gospels. They are like Mark's version. John Mark writes his gospel. It's very flyovery. It's like, I'm going to hit the main points and get through this whole thing. Matthew is more of like a Jewish commentary. It's going to go into, like, at the beginning it talks about the lineage of Christ. He's very specific on who he chooses and he puts in there, and he's very specific on the things that happen. He covers the Cana wedding very well. He covers other things very well throughout his gospel. John goes right into theology the moment. I mean, you in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Boom, we are right into theology. We are talking about Bereshit. We're talking about the beginning. We're talking about the light. We're talking about how the light became the life of men. We're talking about how that light put on flesh and bone. We're moving right into John. We're moving right into the Cana wedding. We're moving right into miracle signs and wonders. There's 7 I ams, and John just explodes into this theological stuff, deep spiritual moving going on, and like the rest of them are like, bro. But John is the last one to write his gospel.
Right.
So he's already read all these other accounts. He's already read all this other stuff when he sits down to actually write his last word. And I think that's what makes John such an incredible place.
The writers of the other 3 gospels are already dead by the time he writes his.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it was a full 30 years later. It's
Sure.
92 or 93 AD
Yep.
by the time he finally writes it.
Yep.
I mean,
and John is the only apostle that actually dies from natural causes. Now the question is, does John die? Jesus actually tells Peter, what's it to you if he gets to live and you die? Because Jesus basically tells Peter that he's going to die as a martyr, and Peter's like, what? Come on, man, I don't want to do that. And Jesus is like, this is the calling that I've chosen for you. You're going to die as a martyr. And like Tyler drinking that jug of milk,
and it's gone.
It's gone. Anyways,
Mark that as a clip.
It's distracting. He's got a problem. Don't get close to the thing. Don't get close to the thing. That's nasty. So now I've done lost what I was talking about. Jesus tells Peter, "What's it to you?" And John actually does see Christ when he returns. He sees him in his vision, but then he dies of natural causes. So a lot of people are asking. I mean, I've seen TikTok videos, YouTube videos of people saying John isn't really dead, and I'm like, bro, seriously, your body cannot last 2,000 years. Now, can God do that? Absolutely, but you have to be in your glorified body in order to do that.
Well,
And
so can they? That's something that we've never tested because we had almost 1,000 years Old Testament.
yes, no, I mean,
say he couldn't live.
Could he have lived a lot longer than we expected? Possibly. But
I'm pretty sure God can do whatever He wants to do.
yes, Leo, that is very true.
That one right there.
So you putting limits on God is not acceptable here.
Well, and I'm not trying to say thank you, Leo.
Wah, wah.
Shoot you down right into the ditch, you fat turd.
Wow. Wow.
I went over the top. I know I do that. But I'm not trying to put limits on it. I think historical records show that he dies by natural causes sometime after he writes his gospel, his 3 epistles, and the Revelation. But it is around 90 AD when he's writing this stuff. Now, could he have lived? Absolutely. Could he still be alive? Positively. Where is he at? I have no idea. But I do think that his seeing the return of Christ is that vision that he gets of the revelation of Jesus Christ so he can write it to the church. And then the church can use that as a means of saying, hey, he's coming back. We got to be ready. Because at any point in history, he can come back. Like he can come back right now. He doesn't really need to do any. I mean, I had this thought, this kind of goes along with what Leo said, but God can literally change every word in the Bible, and we would still think that it had always said that, and we would never even know that he changed all the words. And he could literally say, you need a polka dot striped tie, purple and yellow, in order to get into heaven, and we'd be like, yeah, it's always been there, man. No, we didn't see anything else. Because he's God, he can literally do whatever the heck he wants to do. So absolutely he can. Absolutely John could be alive. My personal opinion is he died, but he did see Jesus return before he died. And he died of natural causes, which is the historical record, which is what I'm going to go with because it's me and not Leo. If Leo wants to believe he's alive, all the power to you. Tyler wants to say something.
Nothing?
No,
My tummy hurts.
My
Yeah,
God.
that's
What,
because you drank
just
that
drank
old
an
jug
entire
super
gallon of chocolate milk.
Chocolate!
My
That's why it
belly is making the rumblies.
That only hands can satisfy.
Yeah, well, when you
Mark it.
want hands, when you crave hands, yeah, these hands.
He got no meat on those hands, son.
Anyway, Leo, what have you been looking up?
He's looking to see if John's still alive.
No, he was talking about
It's like I found the zip code.
like how God can
John the
change
Revelator.
things without and you think it's always been that way. That whole Mandela Effect thing.
Yeah.
And I seen one the other day. There's a new Mandela Effect that's going around. So you remember the Publishers Clearinghouse growing up? Ed McMahon was always delivering checks to people. He'd show up with these great big checks. Now the new thing is that Ed McMahon has never been had anything to do with Publishers Clearinghouse. Ever.
What?
Ever.
That's 100% wrong.
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying now.
What? Can we
All
get a
the
picture of this guy?
information's been scrubbed from the internet, and it never happened. And
Well, you haven't heard anything about Publishers Clearinghouse in a long time, so I don't know.
but it was always Ed McMahon
Yes.
showing up with great big checks and balloons and.
Aha. You are correct. I mean, that's what I remember. That's the name that I associate with it.
What in the world is that? Do we have pictures of him doing this?
Did you look up Spank My Daddy?
I did not.
There are pictures of
Here,
him.
let me share my screen. I'll pull it up for you.
Good God.
No thanks.
Of Spank My Daddy?
SpankMyDaddy.com.
That's not appropriate.
Yeah, not at all, Tyler.
I see a picture of This isn't Ed McMahon. This is the late night host. What's the one that did it before Jimmy and Chin Man? I don't remember his name. Anyway, yep. I see a picture of that guy, and
Publishers Clearinghouse. You click images, right?
Okay, somebody else pull this chin up because I don't know how I'm doing this.
Are you looking at pictures of Ed McMahon?
Well, I was trying to, but then I saw the old late night host of the late night show, the Tonight Show. The old guy. What was his name? Does anybody know?
You talking about like Jay Leno?
No, the guy before Jay. The guy before Jay Leno.
Talking about like Letterman?
No,
That one. David Letterman.
It's not David Letterman. It's the other guy.
What are you talking about?
He was like one of the original late night hosts. He did like Frank Sinatra. He did like all kinds of people.
David Letterman did it for years.
Yeah, but it wasn't David Letterman. There's another guy. I can't remember his name.
Huh. So you type in Ed McMahon, and the first thing that comes up is Mandela Effect, Ed McMahon, and Publishers Clearinghouse. Interesting. All the old TV commercials are gone. So let's look at the Ed McMahon biography and see what it says. See what is listed in there. Ed McMahon. Okay.
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson. I was literally just going to say that.
Yes.
That's forever ago.
That was 150 years ago. Sorry, those of you that are not that old that have seen that.
That was 1 year before Valentina went into space by herself.
Oh. Did we determine that the four brave women that decided to go up there for 3.8 seconds are heroes, national heroes? Did we determine that?
So we can do this right here, right now. When the video clearly shows they opened that door from the inside and then freaked out and shut it again real quick.
Yeah.
So that Jeff Bezos can open it from the outside.
With a special tool.
Something is a little fishy there.
So they never actually went. Then, so it's a moon landing theory then.
I don't know how many side-by-sides I've seen of like the most recent SpaceX capsule coming back, and it's all burned up and all black and everything. And then
Correct.
this thing's sitting there in the grass looking like it's brand new, not even a mark on it.
Yeah, come on, man.
Well, it's like it fell about 35 feet, and that was about it.
They're national heroes, guys. They are literal national heroes. Like Tyler's Milk Jug is a national hero.
No.
Because it had chocolate milk in it.
No.
Yes.
No.
It was a national hero. Yep. Just like Katy Perry. By the way, if you've ever heard Shapiro talk about his love for Katy Perry, it is phenomenal. I want to say that out loud so that everyone on the internet can know that I like Shapiro's take on Katy Perry. It is very funny to watch him just say how useless of a person she is. He has a thing for her. Go Ben Shapiro. Nobody agrees with that? Nobody's in agreement here?
I have not seen any of that. I'm trying to look something.
Okay, so here it is, folks. They didn't actually go.
Give it to us.
They didn't go, and they're not heroes. Most of them are useless people. Okay, moving on. That was a really quick segment.
No, I mean, I got sidetracked in all my own.
Are you looking up John?
No.
Old Johnny's still walking around. He's probably slow.
Nope.
These guys on Twitter.
I would imagine
that
John the Revelator walks slower than Uncle Joe.
Twitter. Let's.
Does he really have his own Twitter?
He sees dead people.
Mercy Lord. Somebody get rid of that guy over there.
John. We're calling John the Revelator.
He's either John the Revelator or John the Beloved. He calls himself John the Beloved. So I would assume that if he had a Twitter or an Instagram page, it would be like John the Loved of Jesus or Jesus' favorite disciple or something to that. Because like literally that's what he calls himself. Is that his Twitter page?
This is St. John the Beloved Twitter page.
Bingo. So he is still alive. Okay, debunked. He's still living, folks. 20,000.
He's got a website attached to it.
He's over 2,000 and 50 years old.
This goes back to a Roman Catholic church. That's not what we wanted.
That's a different John.
That's dumb.
That's Saint John. Totally different. Not to be confused with the actual John, who didn't call himself a saint. He called himself the Beloved.
Right.
He
Or-
was Jewish.
Not to be confused with Big Bad John or Little John.
True.
Little
Or
John.
Big Bad Leroy Brown.
Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest.
I need to watch Robin Hood Men in Tights again.
I love that
With
movie.
who?
The guy who says that he's me.
No.
Why are you referring to yourself in third person, Alex?
With his
Robin
face.
Hood Men in Tights.
Good
Hands
movie.
down, the greatest movie ever made.
Good, very good movie.
It's hilarious.
One of few movies with David
Reminds me
Chappelle
of
that I've
Tyler's
actually ever
life.
watched.
I'll tell you a really good movie is First Sunday. That's a great movie.
My camera's trying to freeze on me.
Got
And I
Ice
don't
Cube.
like it.
Cat Williams.
I don't like my camera trying to freeze. I don't know if you guys saw it or not.
Guys,
It's a Mandela
getting
Effect,
on my
I was gonna
nerves.
say.
my belly. It's
Tyler,
there's so,
we don't need to know about the excursions of your belly, son. We're podcasting right now. It's inappropriate.
I might have to take this
Stop.
mic in the bathroom with me.
Don't do that. Nobody wants to hear you blurb.
Yeah.
blurb.
Nope.
Nobody wants to hear you wrestling your food babies.
Well, for the sake of that, we are done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to end. Talk about Tyler's food babies.
Yep.
We're gonna be
Hey, you know,
way
food
more
babies
views
up in
now.
there. It's
The
a
views are
sludge.
gonna
It's a frosty
skyrocket.
going on up in there.
Right when make a clip of that, and right at the end of this thing, our views are going to skyrocket into the millions because Tyler's talking about food babies.
That was like a half gallon left when you started this thing, right? Yeah.
Just about. It's
That's your own
disgusting,
fault.
really.
That's a lot of chocolate milk, Tyler.
He knows he shouldn't be drinking milk anyway. He's lactose, which kills me, and he does
Is
it
he?
anyway. Yeah.
Are you?
Yes. Yes, he is. He knows he is. He's disgusting.
I've tested like twice and it came back negative.
Oh, come
Both
on! You're a
times.
stinking liar. You are a filthy, dirty scum liar.
That's what the doctor says.
Oh my gosh! I'll slap the doctor across the face and tell him he's wrong. I know you
Why
better
are
than you know
people-
you.
Mark that as a clip.
I have no problem doing that. One time the doctor wrongly diagnosed me, and I told my mom that I was going to park my truck in his living room, and I got yelled at for that. Mark that one too. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. We
So
got
anyway.
it.
You can tell somebody doesn't like doctors.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the great physician. I don't mind him. Tyler needs to go talk to him anyway because he's got this stomach thing happening.
So, like and subscribe, folks. Thank you very much.